Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with just a little bit of an update on the Skred Red. A bunch of you on our Facebook page have noticed that Morton has posted some Skred Red decks and has been doing, I think he says he's about an 85% win percentage or even higher with Skred Red. I have only done two Skred Red, and I've gone 4-1 with both of them. And both of the matchups that I lost against the first one, I lost against a Kiki Cord with a heavy amount of Courser of Crew fixes in the list. Like, I haven't seen, he was running a ton because I saw at least two, all three games. Lost 1-2 to that match, and saw Courser of Crew fix a ton of the matchups, or a ton of the games. And it just survives like Anger of Gods, and it was just the sheer card advantage that the Courser gave the Kiki deck, and I couldn't recover from. So, and then this one I lost to Delver, Grixis Delve, not Delver, with just Tasigur and Snapcaster Mages. That was the only creatures in the deck, and Tasigur's got me both games. A turn 2, I believe, Tasigur got me before I could actually find a Skred for it, and on game number 1, it was just too much. He goes like Tasigur attack twice, and then Bolt Kolgan's command, and I was dead. And then game number 2, he goes Ancestral Visions first turn, and that draw is extremely hard to beat with Ancestral Visions, just the sheer amount of card advantage that the card gets on turn number 1. So I do think the Grixis Delve is an easy matchup, especially the Relic of Progenitus and the Blood Moons. They have to play around the Blood Moons, which makes their deck a lot less consistent. The game I also lost, he Cryptic Commanded 4 times in one game, and I just could not resolve a spell. Just too quick for me, just remanded and Cryptic Commanded everything. But if you get the jump on Grixis, especially with the first turn Relic of Progenitus to exile their graveyards, or just keep their graveyards from getting that quick Tasigur, the deck becomes very clunky. So this is my list. I just went 4-1. I expected a lot of Dredge and a lot of Zoo, so I packed 4 Anger of the Gods and 1 Volcanic Fallout. I still like this list. Morton and I kind of differ on the paths that we go on this deck, because he likes a lot of Pia and Kiran Nalaar, and I only have 1 in the sideboard, and I think Pia is going to get cut. Pia is fun every now and again, but for the main part, I don't like Pia in a deck that's running so much sweepers. Like, I have 5 total in the main board, so Pia main board just feels very awkward. I mean, you can cast her after a sweeper. I don't know. Maybe I should try Pia. A lot of times, even if she gets bolted, or they get bolted, you're left with just a bunch of 1/1 Thopters. And against like Jund, that's not the greatest feeling, just to have 2 Thopters that then have to block a Goyf for a turn or something. I understand it can protect your Koth, possibly, but it just feels bad versus Jund. I don't know. Morton might disagree wholeheartedly with me. We'll have to ask him on his opinion. But so I like high impact cards. I like a big red Skred. And that's why I use a 1 of Wurmcoil Engine, a 1 of Inferno Titan, and a 1 of Chandra Flamecaller, because I think all of these are very good at 6-drop. You can actually get these out very, very quickly, as quick as turn number 4 with Koth. If you Mindstone turn 2, and then turn 3 Koth, and then turn 4 you negative Koth for 4 mana, then you can easily cast the Inferno Titan, Chandra, or Wurmcoil Engine. And that's actually a line of play that I think is ignored too much in Skred. I think that the idea of Skred is to actually keep Koth alive and win with Koth, because it's only a couple turns that you tick up Koth that you can ultimate Koth. Now, I still want to go back to the Oath of Gideon. I think Oath of Gideon and Koth are just insanely good together. Same thing with Johnny and Oath of Gideon. It just allows you that +1 loyalty on both Koth and a Johnny. A Johnny can then Lightning Helix twice without dying, and Koth can actually start out at 4, and then the turn that you cast Koth on turn 4, Koth's at 5. They have to kill Koth. You have 2 1/1 soldier tokens that can block, and then Koth can actually ult the next turn. But adding white makes the deck a little bit clunky. That's why I think that Cold Steel Stone or something like that, it's like the Mind Stone that's a snow artifact, might be the right way to go. And then we get Nahiri. That is a deck I'm going to try out. It might just make the deck too inconsistent and make Skred not that great, because then you'd have to be running like Sacred Foundries. I think that between one of Plains, Snow-Covered Plains, and 4 Sacred Foundries, maybe a Needle Spires. I'm not quite sure I'm sold on Needle Spires, that it might be enough to fix a deck. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent, though. I'm talking about a deck that doesn't even exist at the moment. A lot of you can go check our Boros Walkers deck that we tried out in a live stream. But we both came to the conclusion that Skred is just probably better than that deck. I would love one of Nahiri in this deck, though. I think it gives us that power to destroy enchantments that can be very, very, not only destroy exile, and that's huge against one of the bane to our existence is Keranos. Keranos is so difficult for Skred to deal with. A lot of decks aren't using Keranos. It used to be a staple in Twin, and a lot of the Delves decks just, I guess, don't have it sideboard at the moment. But if they ever do, that's an incredibly tough card for us to deal with, and Nahiri would be a great addition to the deck just for that card. It also is fun to get out of Nahiri early with a Mind Stone, but of course the Cold Steel would be the route to go. So my deck, of course, is centered around Goblin Dark-Dwellers, and I'm not sure if this needs to be mainboarded now if I move some Anger of Gods over, but Molten Rain has proved itself time and time again. I just played a match versus you, our blue Tron, where I killed 3 of his towers in one game. I've also locked out like one of the games versus Grixis that I actually end up losing, but at least I locked him out for a few turns of a particular source of card or a color of mana. Through after a Blood Moon, they have like a 1 of Swamp. You can actually Molten Rain that 1 of Swamp, and then they're locked out of black. So that's I don't know if that's the right card to put in. Some people actually like Boom or Bust, where each player sacks a land with Goblin Dark-Dwellers. I'm not quite sure. I think at that point you're going to run the Flagstones as Trocaire route, and it's just not a deck that I'm sold on quite yet. I think the consistency issues of adding that type of combo are very real, and the huge advantage of running Skred is it's just a phenomenally consistent deck. So here's one card that I'm really thinking about putting in here is Blightherder. With Ancestral Visions and just a lot of these decks that are exiling a bunch of their own graveyard, like through the Delve, and we have 4 main board Relic of Progenitus and 4 Anger of Gods, I'm thinking Blightherder actually is a lot better than Pia and Kiran Nalaar. Blightherder is 5 mana for 4/5 Eldrazi. You have to give 2 cards back from their exile to their graveyard, and then you get 3 Eldrazi 1/1 Scion tokens and a 4/5. The Scion tokens can be easily sacked for mana to then chain off like a Chandra and an Inferno Titan, or they're just chump blockers, or they can even activate the Scrying Sheets or sack a Mind Stone with the mana if you have any left over. Just helps to thin out the deck a lot. But the 4/5 body from the Blightherder is very, very good in Modern. It blocks like Thought-Knot Seers. It blocks Goyce at 4/5, which against this deck, Goyce are not going to be 4/5s, but and then you can just exile the cards again with the Relic of Progenitus. But and it's also quite a good beater with 7 power on board. Very good against like Liliana because you can just sacrifice an Eldrazi Scion. So that is a card that I'm also tinkering around with in the deck is Blightherder. So you might see some Blightherders. The deck hasn't changed too much from time to time. Again, I'm just very, very heavy on the Anger of Gods because I think that's smart at the moment, as the Zoo decks are everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. You're going to see Zoo a ton. Let's just go over the matchups that I won with this last one, the 4-1 finish. Start off with a Blister Coil Weird, Infinite. What they do is they try to use Paradise Mantle with Blister Coil Weird, and then cards like Serum Visions, Visions of Beyond, Thought Scour, just a lot of ways, I don't know, or Gitaxian Probe, just a lot of ways to untap their Blister Core Weird, and then they try to give it double strike and swing in for lethal. The deck got a little more consistent. It has Traverse the Ulvenwald in it, which is actually pretty good with Delirium. You can actually go, first turn you can just go get a basic if you need to, but as quick as turn with the Thought Scours and whatnot, as quick as like turn 2, you can actually tutor up a Blister Coil, because you can go get a land or a creature if you have Delirium. So very, very good tutor there, and it makes the deck a lot more consistent. Then match number 2, what did I go against? Let's just go look at it here. Match number 2, I went up against, let's see. Let's just check it out. Can we view the games? Let's see here. Computer won't cooperate. I went up against... What is this shenanigans? Oh, I went up... This is Bluetron. Yeah, I went up against Bluetron, and this is where I lost. I just lock him out with the Blood Moons and the Molten Rains on one of the games, and then the game number 2, the Molten Rains really came in. So there's that one. And then let's go back to, you just make me open this every time. That was match number 2. The match number 3 I lost against Grixis. Match number 4, what was this one? I just played it and I can't remember what they were. Let's go here and see. Oh, yeah. I went up against Boros, a Boros Walker's Boom Bust deck, and his own Blood Moon screws him on game number 1, because he gets kind of locked out of being able to cast multiple white spells in a turn. And then game number 2, my Blood Moon actually beat him. He kept a very greedy hand and goes first turn Core Firewalker off of a Simian Spirit Guide, and that just I just didn't care. Eventually, I got Koth ulted and killed his Core Firewalker. He got me down to like 8 with Core Firewalker, but it just wasn't that big of a deal. And then game number 5 was against Affinity, which is the easiest matchup in the entire world, especially how I have this deck built with the Vandalblast and Shattering Spree. These are not in here for Affinity. These Shattering Sprees and Vandalblasts, they're here for Lantern control, but poor Affinity gets hated out with even more hate. Everything in this deck is good versus Affinity. So my last tech is a 1-0 Sudden Shock. This is good versus Kiki, as instant speed can kill, or split second can kill Kiki Jiki. They can't respond to it. It's also very good. So even like cards like Brenton Forge Tender, isn't that what the card's called? But you can sack to make a red source not deal any damage. They can't use in response to Sudden Shock. Well, basically this says that it cannot be countered because they cannot stack anything. Can't cast a spell in response. And it's also good versus Cranioplating, Arcbound Ravager. It's good versus Infect because Infect can't respond. So it's a really good card to put in the sideboard. I've added a Mizzium Mortars too in the sideboard. I had Roast for Tasigur and took it out, and now Mizzium Mortars can't hit the Tasigur. But this is another one you can easily overload. It's another sweeper against those Zoo and Kiki decks that I find very, very good. It's just a one-of in the deck. You can Goblin Dark-Dwellers it back for 4 damage to something else. So, I don't know, maybe I'm still, like, if I was to make any changes to this deck, it might be some Molten Rains mainboarded. Maybe a Volcanic Fallout to the sideboard and a Molten Rain mainboard, and that gives me some play with the Goblin Dark-Dwellers. Because Molten Rain is also so good with it's just 2 damage. Sets back even against, like, Zoo. You can make their Wild Nacatls go down to 2/2s. If you kill off their Temple Garden or their Sacred Foundry especially, they can go back down to 1/1s. Against Affinity, you take out their Inkmoth Nexus, which is really the card that is your bane. Against Infect, you can take out their Blue Source. Against Lantern Control, you can take out their Glimmer Void that's allowing them to tap for any mana. There's a lot of uses for Molten Rain in the format. I think the 2 damage just makes it so much better than Stone Rain. I used to have another way to build Skred Red is with Chandra's Pyromaster. I think that card is phenomenal, except we're running 4 Angers and 4 Relics. So if the format ever goes back to less graveyard interactions, I think that we can bring back in Chandra's Pyromaster or Chandra's Phoenix, and Chandra's Phoenix is just phenomenal with Molten Rain, phenomenal with Chandra Pyromaster, phenomenal with like a Johnny Vengeant. And we can go that shell again. So there's a lot of different ways to build Skred Red. We're very spoiled at the moment. We have a lot of cards that are extremely good. Kozilek's Return is actually good in the deck. It's a way to get rid of things that have protection from colors, like the Etched Champion and the Core Firewalker that can be a pain for this deck. Both Pyrite Spellbomb can take care of both of those. That's why 2 of them in the sideboard. It's also instant speed. So there's that card that you can also mess around with. Yeah, we thought about going into green for World Breaker as more land destruction, and it's not that hard to get up to 7 mana in this deck with the little ramp and Koth being the pseudo ramp. But all in all, I think that this is my favorite build so far. I love the Goblin Dark-Dwellers. I love the big red version of it. I'm very impressed in Inferno Titan. It just seems to be a better finisher than like Batterskull or Wurmcoil Engine. I know that Morton loves Batterskull. I particularly don't like Batterskull because of all the artifact hate that's out there. I think Batterskull just gets hit by it. And Wurmcoil Engine, I'm starting to see a lot more white decks, so I might actually take out Wurmcoil Engine because this card is just terrible versus Path to Exile. I think that we could just put Wurmcoil into the sideboard and bring it in versus specific mid-range. Like, it's good versus Zoo because a lot of times you actually can control their board early, and then a Wurmcoil Engine just takes care of them completely. And it's extremely good versus Jund, as once you get that out, they have to Kolaghan's Command it and then use like 2 lightning bolts to kill off the remaining Wurmcoil Engines, because both the Death Touch and Lifelink Worm are extremely, extremely good versus the Jund matchup. So hopefully that's enough overview of how to play Skred. I know I've babbled for 15 minutes. I'm going to try to show you some gameplay, but as it stands right now, I know I sound like a broken record now. The game store, I'm actually late right now. I should have opened the store like 20 minutes ago. Hopefully Zach is there opening it up. But we spend a lot of time at our local game store right now. We just knocked down a wall, bought some cases. We're kind of renovating it. So that's taking up even more time than the normal time we spend, the almost 6 to 8 hours a day opening up the store. So we're in kind of a predicament here at Rogue Deck Builder. The way that I'm going to be able to show gameplay again, the way I'm going to start being able to pump out more consistent decks and deck techs and interacting with the community is if I get an editing computer down at the store. So we're going to be selling some Eternal Masters boxes to help fund that. We're going to try to sell them about the same price as what's going for eBay right now. I'm hoping people will buy it off our site so we can avoid those huge eBay fees that the PayPal fees and the eBay fees are just huge. So if people buy them directly from the site, I think we only get hit by the PayPal fee. I can only sell them to United States. That is our local game store that's our demographic. We can't go outside. We can't sell international. Also, we have new playmats up. The Gone Rogue Games playmat, or the Gone Rogue playmat that Greg designed, I think is so much better in real life than it looks on the website. So it's the blue playmat with the fish. Looks phenomenal in real life. But anyway, where am I going with this? So yeah, so if I'm going to be able to consistently pump out, we need some help. We need your help. And I don't like to beg for money. I don't like Patreon or those type of things. But if you do enjoy the channel, I highly suggest going over to the website, buying a playmat. I get about $8 to $10, depending if PayPal takes a fee or not. So weird with PayPal. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I get about $8 to $10 per playmat sale. So that adds up if I sell, if we get 60 of those sold, then I'm halfway there to an editing computer. I'll usually front the other half of it, and we'll get a nice little studio going down at the store. We have a room that is perfect for it right now, and I can start pumping out more videos during dead time down at the store, and just have Zach can help me out with video editing and whatnot. So please, if you enjoy the channel, that's the way that you're going to see it grow. We're going to do a whole 25,000 subscriber Q&A. I'm going to try to do like a little draw my life type thing. I've had people ask me for that like crazy. I don't know why. I don't know why people care about my personal stories and whatnot. But anyway, we'll get that done and have some other cool things coming up in the future. But that's the threshold we need to cross right here, is how much time I have in a day. And if we can get that computer down there, that just increases the time that I have to dedicate towards the channel exponentially. So anyway, I appreciate all those of you who have bought a playmat in the past couple weeks. We sold a lot more than normal, and it's helping fund the channel a lot. Right now it's helping me buy cards on MTGO. Once I have enough funded for that, I'll have all the cards I need, and then I can start putting it towards other. We're going to put some money into the website. We're going to try to do some collabs with other YouTubers and just get the community growing. Anyway, appreciate everything. This is Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.